So those were the visuals that came from the ANC elective conference that saw Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa becoming the new ANC president. And with that, we want to say, Sanwanani, good evening, South Africa, and welcome to Expressions. This is definitely the place for you to air your views. Jacqueline Mapala.
And with a few days to go, which is Figegu Kesmusi, I'm your host, Olisi Wagwamasango. Says again, now, Jackie, whether you follow politics or you don't follow politics, the reality is what happened at Nasrec from the clip that we just saw right now touches you in some way or another, and it does affect you in one way or another. Are young people pleased with the newly elected ANC leadership?
Or maybe I should ask you the same question. The 54th ANC elective conference that took place in Nasrec, Johannesburg, came to an end after the newly elected president, Cyril Ramaphosa, delivered his maiden speech. In his speech, he called for unity and an end to corruption. At the start of the conference, the former ANC president, Jacob Zuma, announced that government will provide free higher education to poor students. Today, we find out whether the new ANC leadership will deliver on its promises to the youth. But before we get into this also important discussion, let's find out what you as a young person had to say about this.
Hi Expressions, I am Destiny Reuters and I am your street journal of the day. I am here in Annandale, one of the southern suburbs in Johannesburg, trying to unpack the ANC 54th annual conference. One of the key elements that was mentioned was the no-fee education for next year. Hi guys, do you think that the current elected president will keep up to his promise?
Personally, I feel, like I said, that everyone should be given a chance. Understand? We can't judge Cyril Ramaphosa based on the mistakes Jacob Zuma made and. You understand? So everyone should be given a chance, and based on that chance, we will see whether no-fee education will work for South Africa.
I think that he can't be making such drastic promises based on our country's current financial status. I don't think that he should be in the position to be making such things, but we hope that in time there will come change and it would be made possible for us to have the free basic education.
I honestly think Cyril Ramaphosa is good and is also good for business, so yeah.
I personally think that Cyril Ramaphosa at this stage where our country is its financial status, right? I don't think that free education will be implemented as soon as next year, but we need to remember that presidents, they are elected for a period of 5 years. So what is promised, I think that over the period of 5 years that the varsity fees may reduce.
Free education, because when you think of all the expenses the university has, like to pay for the tutors and the lecturers, it's way too much for us to be paying nothing. So I do think that he may reduce the prices to make it more affordable for everybody, but I don't think we'll ever get free education completely.
Some of the comments coming from young people on the streets. But to take this discussion further, I'm joined in studio by Sasabona Manganye, the ANC branch chairperson, in Johannesburg. And I'm also joined as well by Ukaya Sitole, a political analyst. Gentlemen, welcome to Expressions.
Thank you.
I love the fact that you guys are here after such a big and epic moment, right? There's lots to discuss, but Momohedi, as you know, I never do this by myself. In studio with me is my co-host, Mkolisi, who is manning our social media corner, bringing some of your perspectives on this issue, but we're going to get straight into it. I think young people made themselves really, they made themselves heard loudly, especially when it came to their preferred candidate. You as the ANC Youth League in Johannesburg were exactly the same. Cyril was your preferred candidate. What is he bringing that is different in terms of the agenda of young people, especially with the issue of fees must fall?
Yeah, no, thanks very much, for this opportunity. Yes, indeed, in the Johannesburg region, majority of branches who have nominated Cyril Ramaphosa to become the president of the ANC, and we are happy that he's the president today. Cyril Ramaphosa is obviously bringing a vast experience to the movement, in particular to us as young people. We stand to benefit a lot because the ANC have resolved long time ago in Polokwane on free education, and Cyril Ramaphosa have arrived at the right time to ensure implementation of such after President Zuma have made such an announcement as the President of the Republic, and Cyril Ramaphosa will be able to take that particular resolution forward. But second to that is that there is too much corruption in the public services. And we believe that Cyril Ramaphosa is the right person who will work with the collective elected to ensure that we fight corruption, we fight issues of state capture. Even, the influences of Guptas have fallen out of that particular conference. We believe that now we are going to have an ANC with high moral standard, which upholds the core values.
Let me bring Kaya into this. I mean, it's interesting that he's saying that the preferred candidate was actually Cyril Ramaphosa, but we know at the elective conference in itself, the national structure said that they were supporting Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma as their preferred candidate. Do you feel that this issue of free higher education is actually going to go forward, considering the fact that President Jacob Zuma is the one who made that announcement, and we know whose slate he was backing, and now we've got a different leader?
Yeah, it is actually quite an interesting conundrum, because what happens here is that, as Sasabona rightly articulates, this issue of free education is actually a long-standing resolution, and that was championed by SASCO and the Youth League as far back as 10 years ago. So it made its way to the Polokwane resolutions, and it was reiterated and ratified in Mangaung. It was simply a question of implementation that never happened. So the issue here is that President Jacob Zuma was essentially wearing two hats on Saturday morning. In his capacity as the president of the ANC, he simply articulated what the position of the ANC is, and he simply said, we are now going to do it. The problem, of course, is that he then needs to reconcile that with his position as the head of the state. And in his capacity as the head of the state, he's had a couple of commissions looking into this. There have been a couple of ministerial committees looking at this, and they all essentially say, in as much as we believe it ought to happen, we do not believe that the current financial capacity of the state can absorb free higher education. So it's very difficult to then imagine how he reconciles his two positions, where he stands as the president of the ANC and rightly articulates a position that's been advocated for by the Youth League and SASCO for over a long period of time, even long before we did fees must fall, and then his position as the head of state, which then has to implement this in a couple of weeks' time.
And I mean, we asked this in our poll question. Do you think that young people are pleased about the new election of Cyril Ramaphosa as the ANC president?
It is very difficult to assess whether young people are pleased, because, as you said, the ANC Youth League, which is essentially the epicenter of the youth movement, at least within the ANC, took a particular position.
A different position, let's be clear. A very different position was not to say that this is not our preferred candidate.
But the interesting thing there is that my suspicion is that if you then assess what the two candidates brought to the table, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma went on the slate that really spoke to the issues that the Youth League had been agitating for a long time. So she pronounced, even back in May, I think, when she was at a rally in KZN, that free education was part of her agenda, the land issue was part of her agenda. So of course, these are the issues that were very close to the heart of the Youth League in its design. So of course, for them, they would be probably gravitating towards saying, oh, this is a person who speaks about the things that we've been calling for as far back as 10 years ago. But then again, the question of how do you then balance that with the things that the Ramaphosa slate was talking about, particularly issues around anti-corruption, because of course, the Youth League is not itself opposed to the idea of tackling corruption, but I suppose that they look at the two dynamics, and then they said, this is the one candidate that speaks about the issues that we have been agitating for, even though we're not particularly against what the Ramaphosa slate is talking about.
And I want to bring in the NEC guys. I mean, we want to, obviously, especially when we're talking about young people, it's representation of young people within the NEC. We know NEC is a very important decision-making structure within the ANC. Can can it be trusted to push forward the interest of young people? Can young people watching the show now say they will uphold our agenda as young people?
Yeah. Look, remember, as young people of the ANC in the year 2011, we have discovered our generational mission, that one of economic freedom in our lifetime. And that generational mission, one of its important pillars was free education, because we believe that there will never be economic freedom without education, so we must scale our people. But the second point that we need to understand is that the ANC is the center of power. So what happens in government must be informed by the resolutions of the ANC. So the leaders that we elect are expected to implement the resolutions which we take in conference.
So you are confident that the current resolution around free education will be implemented by the new elected president?
Yes, we are confident that is going to be faced
Let me leave it at
next year. In fact, the Minister of Finance have indicated that in February they will be able to indicate in terms of the adjustment which they will have made to accommodate this resolution. It will be faced in, and we obviously going to be there to ensure that is implemented. So we're not going to take a back seat.
Let me cut you in there. It's up to you to decide. Do you think that the newly elected president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, is the saving grace for the ANC? It's up to you to decide. We'll be back right after this. You're watching Expressions.
Well, you're still with Expressions, your hashtag #1 youth current affairs show. Namhlanje sihlwa sikhuluma about the outcome of the ANC elective conference. Are young people pleased with the newly elected ANC leadership? Well, I'm now joined by Abantu Abasha to dissect and dismantle everything else that was said that happened during the course of the week. Anele Nzimande, Oliver Dixon. Good evening, guys, and welcome to Expressions.
Hi.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Anele, you said Cyril Ramaphosa asked for a bigger place at the table, and then when he got that bigger place, he ate alone. He did not include us. That in your quotes, and you said, "Get some manners." That's your most infamous quote.
Is it
Why?
infamous?
Yes.
So I was listening to the first half of the conversation, and I think what I'm getting from Sasabona is that, again, there's this declaration that it's policy to implement free education going forward. And I was so excited to hear that announcement as someone who was part of the Fees Must Fall movement. But if we've had these kind of declarations in the past, we're hearing that since Mangawong, since Polokwane, the same thing has been said. Why do we constantly need to put this pressure on the government and the stranglehold on the government? How do we know that this time around, although we're ecstatic, it will actually be seen to its logical conclusion? How does the ANC Youth League measure its effectiveness actually when, since 1994, you've been singing the same song and you've been calling it a generational mission? I mean, some of the people who were there during that time are not even youth anymore. We have had to take on that battle. So for me, it's very, very concerning. And I think they also need to introspect on their effectiveness and being complicit in some of the, harm that was put onto activists in order for this moment to come to pass. On the issue of Cyril Ramaphosa, I think, he was deployed to business. And what we expect from our leaders is to represent us as the people of this country. And in his deployment to business, it hasn't really been clear that he's on the side of the people. And that's what I meant when I said you get a seat at the table, ask for a bigger table, or ask for more chairs to be pulled up so that we can sit at that table alongside you. And that's my concern with Mr. Ramaphosa. He's amassed over R1 billion in wealth, and under his leadership or in his participation as a shareholder in Marikana, we saw the death of 34 mine workers.
Well, clearly there's seemingly some more issues that are lingering. There's Marikana, as Anela has raised, and several other issues where she says that she doesn't feel Uguti what Ramaphosa speaks to issues of Antabasha. What's your take?
Look, I mean, the Marikana issue, there was a commission which have thoroughly dealt with issues And all of us is the public knowledge that the report was out, and Cyril Ramaphosa was not found on the wrong side of whatever the death that have happened. And he himself, he have issued a statement to indicate, to regret in terms of the language that he have used, to the email that he have sent, because that is the only thing that connects him with the incidents that have transpired there. However, you know, he is a leader of the ANC, and the ANC have taken resolutions, and those resolutions must be implemented by the leaders of the ANC, and he must lead that particular, you know, ANC in ensuring implementation.
Your take on him seemingly not speaking to the issues of the youth, what's that?
It's not correct when we say he's not speaking on the issues of the youth. I mean, himself individually, as a business person, even before he's the ANC president, he's supporting a number of young people through bursaries. He's supporting a number of young people in terms of the entrepreneurships. There are programs that he's doing on his private capacity. I don't want to get into details because I'm not his business spokesperson, but I'm saying that information is public knowledge. You can Google it. You'll get a number of young people who have, you know, prospered in business through incubated through his NGOs. So, so it cannot be true. Right. Possibly it's lack of information.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just go to Oliver. Oliver, you were shaking your head profusely as he was talking. We have Vumelana Naibut.
On one thing, no, Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC government has been adopted this habit of pacifying young people through bursary schemes, and that what young people have been asking for is structural inclusion, and we're not getting that. However, I do think this time around we may actually just get that. This is why I slightly want to deviate from Anele. The tone of the ANC in the past has always been free education must be actualized. We must do this as a wish list, never implementable program. The ANC now adopted a tonality of program interventions. So what Jacob Zuma said is not free education will come. He said in 2018 you will all get free education. The ANC spoke to the decriminalization of sex work. It said the legislature needs to sit down and have that discussion. When we spoke about land, they said Section 25 must be amended. And the language is different. The language is that of action and not a wish list. Cyril Ramaphosa's intervention at this stage would be to carry the party mandate. And I think that's the important part here. Has Cyril Ramaphosa been effective in doing that? I do think so. I think in large part as the leader of Business SA, his position as Deputy President, he's been able to bring in a 40 billion rand investment with Jacob Zuma from China in the last 4 months.
And that's, of course, now, as you've heard Oliver as well, Anil, it's all colorful English right now. We're talking policy, but the truth is, what are they getting out of it?
38% of young people are unemployed. 14 million South Africans go to bed hungry every day. Stats SA just released that over half of our population, 30.4 million people, are poor, are living under conditions of poverty. And when you're angry, it's almost as if, you know, where is this anger coming from? And unfortunately, I did not elect Cyril Ramaphosa. I didn't put him as the ANC president. I didn't put him as the deputy president. But that happened under his watch because he's part of the leadership of the country. And yes, it's great to be hopeful. We are optimistic. We have to be optimistic because we live in this country. But the reality is there are concerns from us as young people. And, you know, yes, he's providing bursaries. Yes, he's incubating. But that's... He's a businessman. It's law for him to do that. We can't clap for people for doing something that they're legally supposed to be doing anyway. Is he doing that in his capacity as the deputy president of the country or as a businessman? Investec or whatever else, they're doing the same things. But we can't clap when they're not also fulfilling their mandates if they are political leadership of the state.
Wow. Strong views from Abandabasha Lapo. And of course, I'm hoping we can still be able to catch in with your views, but that all happens after the break. You're watching Expressions. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You are still watching Expressions here on SABC 1. We're discussing the outcome of the ANC elective conference, and we're asking you, Kochaye, are young people pleased with the newly elected ANC leadership? And of course, it was getting really hot in studio when Mklo was cross-questioning this part of the stage. But guys, we're going to have to wrap it up. I think it's a very, very important discussion that we're having here, and I think I'm pleased that we're giving young people an opportunity to be heard. But I think with you, Sasabon, I mean, there are lots of issues that came across. I was just writing, like, scribbling notes, the issue around effectiveness. But I think most importantly, something that Oliver mentioned around the change in language. Should young people feel that there's a change in trajectory because now we're speaking differently, and like Oliver was saying, we're seeing more action. Is that what's likely to happen?
Yeah. Look, the first thing is South Africa have been calling for ethical leadership. The ANC have brought the ethical leadership, for South Africa. The second issue is the resolutions are very specific in terms of what needs to happen from here moving forward, and it will even be easier for us to even assess and hold the leadership accountable, because who will be there? It's not an issue of saying that we have resolved, therefore we are comfortable. These are issues that we are going to defend at all costs to ensure that they are implemented.
Kaya, there are lots of young people watching the show right now. I mean, you've watched this quite closely as well. What can they expect in terms of, whether in the next couple of weeks are we going to see free higher education becoming a reality or not?
Luckily for young people, the political decision that was announced by Jacob Zuma is irreversible for Cyril Ramaphosa simply because it will be political suicide. So there will be a form of rollout of free higher education. And I think over the next couple of weeks, we're probably going to be hearing more about how exactly the process will be managed, because it's probably not going to be universal rollout of free higher education within a 4-week period. But of course, that's what we've been asking for as part of the Fees Must Fall movement. We never said it must be done overnight. We simply always asked for a roadmap towards a realization of a greater goal. And I believe January 2018 is the first step towards that.
2018. Hey, thank you so very much, gentlemen, for coming to the show. And a big thank you to your guests, Olisi. Expressions is not expressions without hearing from you. So let's find out what you want us to discuss in next week's show.
Programs that I enjoyed, the topics was your depression, your disability. And in 2018, looking forward to 2018, not sure what 2018 holds for us, but excited news about the new ANC president.
Wow, I'm looking forward to that.
I am looking forward to it too.
The last show for the year has been so awesome.
This is our last live show. Wow, thank you so very much to everybody for supporting us. But today is a very big day here on Expressions, and I have to change my accent and sound political because it is your birthday. Yay, it's his birthday. So can I ask the cake to be brought up as we celebrate this guy?
To you.
Yay.
Happy birthday, dear Mercy. Happy birthday to you.
Hip hip. Thank you so much, Jack. Happy birthday.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah.